What's going on, guys? It's me, Fan HC here, and today we have another model plane unboxing video for you guys. I hope you guys are excited for today's video. Today we got another model to be unboxing, just a singular model unboxing, and I just got a super exciting model to showcase to you guys. I'm super excited. As you saw on the thumbnail, you probably know what that model is, but I have not seen this out of the box yet. So, here we go. So here is my box right there. This box comes from Panafox, and I don't know when was the last time I ordered this, but as soon as it was shipped to my house, I don't know, I just haven't been unboxing this model in a while. But I think, well, yeah, this is like a really cool box. I mean, like, it's just a simple box, not exactly cool in a way, but it's been a while since, like, ever since this was shipped to my house, I have not unboxed this yet. But this is recording during the month of April, so pretty much I had a busy month. That's why I didn't have much time to unbox it. But this model manufacturer, well, it comes from the same brand, but this is like a subsidiary brand, and I've always been wanting to have this model aircraft, well, this model plane from this specific brand for a long time, since the beginning years of my collecting, or me model plane collecting in that case. But I'm just super excited to unbox this, and overall, let's have a look at this particular model itself. This should be coming out in, I'm guessing, kind of like around that May format. So kind of like May, kind of like leading to like June or something. But I want to make sure, I want to try to like get this unboxing out somewhere around May. So highly likely this will be out on May if I were to take a guess. Depending on how everything goes according to plan. Like if I'm not as busy as what I used to be back in April. But we got this model to unbox, and I'm just super excited for it. So as I take it out, here's some packing peanuts. And of course I do have my my receipt from Panafox. And just want to make sure everything is all correct. Just kind of looking. Okay, but I do want to showcase to you all the code. So here is the code. So the code is 7 Quebec Sierra 277. This expires on May 17th of 2025. Now, depending if when I upload this, it's either the code has since then expired, or maybe if I ended up uploading this video before that date, then you still have a few days to get that code in. But once again, that code expires on May 17th of 2025, so if this video ever gets uploaded early, then I would highly suggest getting that code in. But we got our model itself, like our model to unbox inside, and there she is right there. Man, I've been always wanting to have this model from this brand, but as I take her out, oh yes, there she is. We have the GeminiMacs 1/400 scale United States Air Force Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker from McConnell Air Force Base. Super excited to have my first GeminiMacs model, and this could be my first ever military aircraft, like just full-blown military aircraft in my collection. So it's really awesome to get this model from GeminiMacs. Once again, first GeminiMacs model in my collection, and overall it's gonna be it's a unique brand, unlike the standard GeminiJets. Since GeminiJets mostly covers commercial airlines, GeminiMacs mainly covers military planes. But this is gonna be a really cool model for my collection, and yeah, a new era of me model plane collecting. My first ever military plane has arrived at my collection. So with that being said, let's get started with the review. And here we go with the unboxing of the GeminiMacs 1/400 scale United States Air Force Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker from McConnell Air Force Base. I'm beyond excited to once again have my first full-flown, full-flavored military aircraft in my collection, and I always thought of like having a GeminiMacs model. Like, I know a lot of collectors also have this, but I kind of feel left out on not having a military GeminiMacs model for my collection. So it's really like a huge step for me whenever I'm model plane collecting, as once again, this is my first military plane. I originally was going to be getting my first GeminiMacs model while I was at the SFL One Day show in March. I saw I think it's a McCord C-17 Globemaster there on one of the vendor tables. I would love to get that, but I do want to hold that off because I think my wallet is already tired, because like I spend like just a couple of models and aviation memorabilia at that One Day show. But I do want to get this, I do want to start off the GeminiMacs stuff with this particular plane, and I'll go into further reason why I ended up choosing this plane instead of like a Air Force Base from like Travis Air Force Base or Deal. But without being said, let's get started with the review. So different box design compared to like all your GeminiJets releases. So you got your GeminiMacs logo right there, made for collectors by collectors. You got the CGI image of the plane. You got the, I think that's like the banner over there that says McConnell. You got the Boeing KC-135 tiles right there, 1/4 scale die-cast small aircraft. Now, unlike GeminiJets' generic box, which is just like a light blue, like just not light blue, just a dark blue background, except for like Southwest and Qantas and FedEx. This particular plane and most GeminiMacs models has this. It's kind of like some kind of like actual like metal plate. Like the background itself is like a metal plate. It's kind of like it wants to give out that like metal look because like most military planes are just like they tend to be like as, how would I word this? It's not like your typical commercial airlines. They're just like defense airplanes. So GeminiJets wanted to have like a different kind of box style for these like GeminiMacs models. So they ended up choosing a metal plate background as most of their GeminiMacs models for their military offerings. But I will say this is really, really cool, and it's, yeah, first experience. This is honestly really, really cool. A different kind of like box than what I would usually get from my GeminiJets models, but this is just really cool right here. Here is the bottom of the box. Here is the right side of the box, top of the box, and the left side of the box. And as I go to the back side of the box, you got your CGI image of the plane, as well as gets features right there, all your bullet points, all your license, those are their social media pages. You got your Boeing license product right there, and your 2022 GeminiJets copyright level right there. So I'd assume this model came out somewhere around 2022. I'm not sure what date it was, but yeah, this is a really cool model, I gotta say. But yeah, somewhere around that 2022 time frame. I'm not sure where, or 2023, but I'm not really quite sure. And the item number in this model is GJ, or not GJ. I've always been thinking about GeminiJets, and they all start off with a GA, but this is a GeminiMax. So the item number of this model is USA 120. And yeah, the reason why I want to get this model is because I did see a McConnell KC-135 Stratotanker while I was plane spotting at Sacramento McClellan Airfield. It's kind of like a airport that's the closest airport rather than Sacramento that's literally close to me. I can literally just drive there. And there were a couple of KC-135s from McConnell that came here. I think 2 were coming, but I was able to catch them. I was able to get some good photos of one of them too. I think one of them is like I think I have one good photo, and yeah, one good photo from that spotting session at McClellan. And yeah, now I could tell why there were like the McConnell planes just by looking at the front area of the plane. I'll go over that into a review later down the road, well, in the next clip in this case. But without being said, I do want to open the pamphlet so I can check out this particular aircraft, and honestly I'm just super excited to add my first GeminiMacs to my model plane collection. So without being said, let's open up the pamphlet. And there she is, and my god, that honestly looks really, really cool. I do love the color of the plane, and yeah, it's gonna be a really, really cool model for my military offering. Once again, first military plane. Here is the description of the KC-135 Stratotanker, so you can pause and read, and then it goes over particular details about this particular plane. And let's get into the unboxing. Now, once again, I know I said this already, but this is my first military plane. I'm not sure if I would count Air Force One, the VC-25A, as my first military plane, because that's more of a government aircraft rather than just a fully flavored military plane. But whatever the case is, this still counts as my first military plane, and as I take her out of the cradle, gosh, that thing looks, ooh, wow, holy crap, that thing looks sick. Like, it looks nice. Wow, oh my god, that looks, okay, this is literally like just one piece. Like, just when I look at this is just one piece. And I believe are there like horizontal stabilizers? Yeah, they're the horizontal stabilizers. Gosh, this is really, really cool. Once again, a new GeminiJets model from a different manufacturer. This is just a different subsidiary, but this is really, really cool. Wow. That is just absolutely stunning right there. So here she is, the KC-135 Stratotanker from McConnell Air Force Base. What a cool model this is. Gosh, that is just one awesome model to take a look at. And Yeah, that honestly, Gemini just did a really good job on this. This is just a really phenomenal work from DJ in their military offerings right there. That is, wow. Once again, first impressions, that is just excellent right there from GeminiJets. That is one model I would really love to have in my collection. And yeah, once again, first GeminiMacs model has arrived, and overall, this is just one stunning model to take a look at for my model plane collection. And once again, a new era has begun for me as a model plane collector. So great work, GeminiJets, on this. It's really, 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 really cool. And here's the GeminiMacs 1/400 scale United States Air Force Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker from McConnell Air Force Base. What a cool model this is. Really glad to have my first military aircraft in my collection once again, other than Air Force One, the VC-25A, and overall, they did a stunning job on this KC-135 mold. Now, the KC-135 is based out of the Boeing 717, but I think when they first introduced the KC-135, it had the engines of the 707, but then they had to like re-engine the aircraft for future generations. And you would see most of these KC-135 with these new engines as of today. So, let's get started with the review of this particular plane. And overall, once again, this is just a really cool model from GeminiJets in this department. So, let's get started with the review. So you got your cockpit windows right there. I can still see them even though the aircraft is gray. And then you can also see your eyebrow windows as well. And then you can see the black anti-glare paint right there that's applied right in front of the plane. And it's also in the nose as well. And then you can see the US Air Force logo right there, the titles. And then I'm guessing, I'm not sure what this is. I think it has to do with like where the GPU should be located, if I were to take a guess, or maybe something else. I don't really know kind of like all the characteristics of a military aircraft other than some other parts I do know. There's just static ports, so I'm kind of gotten used so much on like these commercial side of things. It's, again, this is my first time reviewing a military airplane, so I don't know really much the skeptics about these kinds of planes. Anyways, here are your numbers right there. The top one represents, I'm guessing that's the plane's ship number if I were to take a guess. Let me see what the numbers say. Let me focus. Hang on. Okay, come on, focus. That says 35, or is it 3534? Not really. It kind of looks like it's saying 3534, but I'm guessing that's the plane's ship number. And then on the bottom, if I can focus again, you can see here are your numbers for the titles for the, I think, 931st Air Refuel Wing and the 22nd Air Refuel Wing. So these are operating on those air refuel wings right there. So once again, 22nd Air Refuel Wing and 931st Air Refuel Wing. And then you can see I'm guessing that's the US Air Force. This one, well, the front seal is I think the Air Mobility Command seal, and this one could be like the US Air Force Reserve Command seal. So yeah, I think these are the two seals that is represented on on this plane. I also did some research on what those logos are. Moving on to the front, like the front section. Well, I do want to mention the landing gear. So here's the landing gear right there. So here's that, and then there's your nose landing gear door, which is placed at the rear part of the landing gear strut. Which I think the landing gear strut on this aircraft, I think GeminiJets did a good job on the representation. It kind of may not look as accurate given the fact because like this is just one mold, so you can't see any like gaps in them. But I think GeminiJets did a good job on representing the nose landing gear of the KC-135. Moving on to the middle section of the aircraft, you can see I'm guessing this could be the cargo door, where you place some cargo in, probably like put in some troops in there as well, and probably like some extra cargo on the aircraft. There's your emergency exit door right there. Here's your wing, which I think GeminiJets did a good job on representing the wing of the KC-135, and here are your engines. So as mentioned before, during the early stages of the KC-135, they featured the 707's main engines, which I think they are, I'm guessing, what are they again? JT-8Ds, yeah, JT-8Ds. These planes used to have them before they re-engined the planes for future generations. So these are the engines that are currently using it. I will have to open up the pamphlet again to know what those engines are. So the engines are the CFM F100-CF100 engines. So I think those are more fuel efficient then your standard JT8D engines that are powering the 707. And I'm not sure if I'm correct if the JT8D engines are the ones that power the 707. Once again, I mean, I don't think I have a 707 in my collection, so I'm not really quite sure on that one. But yeah, you can technically say this is like a 707, but not really a 707 in its way. Moving on to this side right here, you can see, well, pretty much the entirety of the plane does not have antennas, which I think it does make sense. This is more of a military plane rather than just a commercial airplane. And I think these can be like extra features, like this one could be like the emergency exit hatch if I were to take a guess, and then there's your extra window right there. And then moving on to this side of the plane, you can see some extra panels right there. Not really quite sure what those are. And then I do like the fact that they also feature the beacon light on this plane. Like the beacon light, so here's the red beacon light on the port side of the plane. I do want to go over the wing details as well. So here are your wing details, which I think GeminiJets did a good job on the representation of the KC-135's wings. So you can see some spoilers, your flaps, and you can't see much on the slats on this particular plane, but then you also got your ailerons. And on this side, you can see the roundel of the US Air Force logo. Or just the US Air Force in general. Like, this is just the roundel of the US Air Force. And then on the starboard wing, you can see the USAF titles. And then moving on to, well, I already covered this one already. So there is some extra panel details on this particular plane. And then moving on to this side, you can see another roundel of the US Air Force right there. And then as we move on to the empennage of the plane, there's your APU area right there. And then there's your boom operator, which I think the boom operator would be situated over here, if I were to take a guess. Or maybe, like, I know they're situated at the backside of the plane. And then they would operate this plane, like they operate the boom, so it can refuel the planes that are in the air. And they're made out of plastic, which I think it does make sense. Either way, this is not really like made out of this is not made out of die-cast, but it makes sense on why they ended up making the boom operator plastic, which, yeah. But overall, I think the boom operator on how it's detailed is standard to most GeminiJets standards, which I think they did a good job on representing right here. And then you also got your horizontal stabilizers with some extra elevator details right there. And then you got the tail right there. As I zoom out, you can see the tail, which I do love the fact that there's some really good details. You can see some rudder details right there, and then you can see some strut details, like bump details right there. Not sure what those are, but I'm assuming those could be like, I'm guessing these can be used for like countermeasures if I were to take a guess. But then you got the US flag right there, the AMC, I'm not sure what AMC, I think Air Mobility Command, yeah, Air Mobility Command is what AMC means. And then you got the aircraft serial number. Usually this would be like the registration, like on GeminiJets, the registration, I think it's, the registration of this particular plane is 62-23534, but the tail says 23534, so this could be like representing the plane's serial number. There is no like particular registration on military airplanes. And then on the top, you can see like the extended boom piece right there. This is for aerodynamic purposes. And then you can see McConnell titles, the McConnell titles at the very top. McConnell Air Force Base is located in Wichita, Kansas. So yeah, really cool aircraft right there. And yeah, once again, really cool to see a actual McConnell KC-135 at Sacramento McConnell Airfield. It can also be used for like military planes, that airfield in particular, but still, it's really cool to see one in person. That's why I ended up getting this model. Anyways, moving on to the front section of the plane. As you can see, the front section looks fantastic. They did a good job on the printing of the cockpit windows right there, and the ground flex configurations of the wings. Gosh, that looks really, really outstanding from GeminiJets right there. And then moving on to the the starboard section of the plane. So there's no boarding door at the front. You can see the US Air Force titles and then all your seals right there. There's all your doors, and then there's no cargo bins on this plane. So those are your main difference. And then you can see the green beacon light right there. So those are your main difference on the starboard section of this aircraft. Now as I give you guys a top view of the aircraft, here's the top view of the plane. So nothing much on details on the fuselage, but you can see all the various details on the wings. Once again, you got the roundel of the US Air Force on the port wing, and then you got the USAF titles on the starboard wing. Moving on to the bottom section, you can see much of the bottom section. Now, I think this is reversed. Yeah, the bottom sections are reversed, so the US Air Force titles is now in the port wing, and you can see the roundel of the US Air Force on the starboard wing. And then here's all your, like, I'm guessing these could be like I think that has to do with all the various like refueling things, because like most refuel planes has this. I'm not sure what the bottom side represents, but it has all these various like I'm guessing printed details on it, but once again, I don't know what this all means at the bottom. If you know what this means, let me know in the comment section below. Moving on to more details at the bottom, you can see a stand hole, and then there's your GeminiMacs logo right there, which is very tiny. It's almost like you can't barely see the GeminiMacs logo anywhere. I also do like the fact that there's also some good details on the engines as well. Forgot to mention about that. Moving on, here's the front section of the plane. Again, you got that nice ground flex configuration of the wings. And then moving on to the back, if I could try to like situate it properly. Here's your back section of the wings right there. And I did not mention, there's also like some extended like hump pieces at the root base of the wing. I'm not sure what those are either, but again, let me know in the comments if you know much of the KC-135. But still, this is an awesome model to have in my collection. Really nice for most of my model planes. Like, if I want to feature this plane, I just want to use it. Like, if I were to feature this plane in a Roseville Airport update, then I could just use it for training purposes. Because sometimes at SMF, I would see some KC-135s doing some touch and goes. So I'm assuming that has to do with like flight training for these pilots right here. But still, it's a really cool model to have. Once again, first military aircraft in my collection, and overall it just looks really stunning. Really nice to have this particular aircraft in my collection. So that's it for this small unboxing. I do want to give you my concluding thoughts on the next video clip, so without being said, let's move on to our conclusion portion, and then we're going to finish this video from here. What a cool model this is! I think GeminiJets did an excellent job on the KC-135 in 1/400 scale, and overall it's a really awesome model to feature in this unboxing. I might see if I can try featuring this model in some of my airport updates that I do, in case I do want to like replicate some flight training stuff for all the military pilots out there. But still, this is just a really awesome model, and who knows what my next GeminiMacs model will be. I might see if GeminiJets, well, I can like try to get a GeminiMacs Travis Air Force Base aircraft, or maybe GeminiJets can try to release one in the future. Because I know like the 1/400 C5, I think that was the last KC-135 they did. Well, not that one, but that's kind of like a couple of months, but I'm talking about a C5. But who knows when GeminiJets will do another Travis Air Force Base C5 Galaxy, or maybe if they can try, they can do a Travis or a KC-46, like a Travis C-17 or a KC-46. Who knows when that will come into feature. But for now, I do have this McConnell example, and overall it's just an absolute banger for a model plane like this. And once again, I'm really glad to have this model for my 1/400 collection. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Gosh, excuse me guys. Anyways, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notification bell so you won't miss a new upload from me anytime soon. And don't forget to check out all my model plane unboxings and my model plane content by clicking on those playlists, or whatever playlist you like. I'll probably feature that on the end cards. And yeah, you can check out all my model plane stuff in there. Model plane unboxings will also be featured on that playlist as well. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.